Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And a welcome to you to the first Throwback Thursday. Something that has been ordained and commissioned by you, the audience, in an effort to give yourselves and all of us some respite from the usual fare. If we were doing usual fare, it wouldn't be Throwback Thursday. It would be Throw Up Thursday. Having by habit read the newspaper already today, but that's not where we're going. And because I was thinking, so what do we do? Throwback, by the way, not necessarily meaning that we have to talk about old things, but also that we want this hour to more closely resemble what talk radio was before it became hopelessly, grotesquely politicized. Because it used to be fun. It used to be a lot more entertaining, and any and all subjects, any and all comers, and people didn't segregate based on their political views. Your audience was full of all kinds of people, and we managed to talk. Yeah, not scream at each other, talk. It was something. And so I don't know what any particular Throwback Thursday, which will be the last Thursday of every month, will be. But this initial one, because I was thinking, oh God, I don't know what to do. And then I thought, well, when I'm always in a pickle and doing a regular show talking about the horrors of the present, I invariably turn to dead people as a way out of my gloom. I invariably turn to obituaries, and so I'm going to be doing a lot of dead people on today's program. There are actually two obits that I had pulled out before today that I never got around to because they weren't particularly rich to my estimation. Although the one about a guy named, I think he had a very common sound. No, he didn't. No, I thought his name was Smith. It's Smiley. That's a good name. Ed Smiley. And it turns out that his claim to fame was that he saved three men who happened to be in space and wouldn't have gotten back to Earth without him. And so famous was his save that it was made into a movie starring who? Tom Hanks, I guess. If it was it must have been Apollo 13. Yeah. And so I sort of, I don't recall at the time understanding what had happened and what had been done. But there was, that's where that famous quote of Houston, Houston, we have a problem. And that's actually a misquote. The obituary makes clear the proper quote was, Houston, we've had a problem. And that was intoned by Jim Lovell, one of the astronauts. And I believe that's who Tom Hanks played. So Houston, we've had a problem. And it wasn't just a little problem. They were on their way to the moon, and an oxygen tank had exploded. And it had done a lot of damage. In fact, crippled the control module, the command module. So they were screwed. They had taken cover, the three astronauts, in the lunar module that was attached, which would be the module that would, take just two of them to the surface of the moon. But there were three of them. And so the three of them crammed into, because it was the only place they could get oxygen. And Smiley, who was one of the engineers, knew that wasn't going to work. There wasn't enough oxygen in there, and they'd all end up dead. So he figured out, what he did is he figured out a way using stuff that was available to them in that small space to rig, I guess, the remaining oxygen canisters. I don't even understand exactly what they did, but they ended up using cardboard, a plastic bag, the cover of one of the flight plans, a hose from one of their spacesuits, and the one that pulled all that stuff together was they had a roll of duct tape. And that held it literally together, the fix. So it was Ed Smiley, whose obit died at 95, who saved those three men and got them back to Earth because of the thing he rigged that allowed them to breathe safely in the lunar module. I guess the thing they rigged pulled out the carbon dioxide. I don't know. I don't understand it. And man, the sale of duct tape just, you know, to the moon. To the moon. And it actually, when I read that obit, I was reminded of sitting on an airplane. I don't know where. I think I was in Palm Springs, on having boarded, but going nowhere, having been informed with all the other hapless passengers that something was not quite right and had to be fixed before we were cleared for takeoff. And we sat and we sat and we sat and we sat. And then some guy, a maintenance type looking guy, I was sitting toward the back, came walking down the aisle of the plane carrying a roll of gray duct tape. And I remember looking at that and thinking, oh my God. I didn't know whether to be happy. It appeared that, a fix was in the making, or to be freaked out that the fix amounted to duct tape. But apparently it did, because after he walked back up the aisle, we were informed not too much later that we were free to go, and here I am. So it held and we held, and I guess if duct tape could get three guys out of orbit and down to Earth, it could get me from Palm Springs back to Pittsburgh. So anyway, we begin with duct tape. I also wanted to tell you that one of the things that talk radio, which is what this is attempting to be, uh, one of the mainstays of it was you, people who were calling in. And in case you don't know the number, I'm giving it to you now, and I will repeat it a few times if I remember to. 412 200 5686. 200 5686. Okay. Um, I am expecting a call, actually, from, I'm expecting a gentleman caller, someone you may know. But I also unhappily saw that a man I worked with at WTAE radio has died at the age of 95, Alan Bowl. Um, and he had a stentorian voice. I didn't know Alan well, but he was already like such, he had like a 30-year career in radio when I blew in 1981, and he was there forever. Um, and he had been the I think NBC bureau chief in uh, in Latin America. Let me get this exactly right, because I was and um, and that was before he came, obviously, to Pittsburgh. But he served as a Latin American bureau chief for ABC, and he spoke, fluent Spanish, obviously, and he was very, erudite, which put him at odds with a lot of other folks in the in the newsroom. And he would do the news breaks on the shows on WTAE radio and also on the FM station. And much to his chagrin, the morning team of very funny guys, O'Brien and Gary at the time, um, used to I introduce him and or salute him afterwards by calling him Senor Skippy. So a lot of us, I didn't know where it came from. I know that I always thought of him as Senor Skippy, which was a way of minimizing a pretty impressive position he had he had held. But such is the reality of working in a newsroom. I think Doug used to have fun in mimicking his voice as well. This is Alan Bowl. I don't know. Yeah. So it's interesting that on a throwback day, yeah, Alan uh, dies. He lived a long life and was very active and a good union man. He was, I think, held every position in the Screen Actors Guild AFTRA here that one could, and he was serious about it. Lover of music, and always, I rarely saw him because he was always behind a newspaper. Um, okay, but that brings me to two eulogies. Um, I don't know if we're going to get to both of them today. I think I'll start with, what, do you remember a guy named Mossy Murphy? I worked with Mossy Murphy too, and he was, to say he was a character does not even begin. I have held on to a piece written by Dennis Roddy, who served as, I think, Governor Ridge's press secretary, as well as a reporter, that he wrote upon Mossie's demise at the outrageous age of 61. And he wrote about going to his Irish wake, and he said, Maurice Mossy Murphy, the political consultant and one-time TV analyst. By the way, he was a one-time TV analyst for WTAE, where I was as well, because he got into this volcanic, as Dennis writes, profane, as Dennis writes, eruption on Channel 4. Oh, it wasn't even on air. It was in the parking lot. It was in the parking lot. And I guess it almost came to blows, but he was arguing with the two. Before we had an Allegheny County exec, we had three commissioners. He was arguing with the two Republicans, Larry Dunn and Bob Cranmer, in the parking lot, and it almost came to blows. And TAE, I think, fired him. He was a piece of work. And I want to remember him because, as Dennis says in this, doubtless we will all in Pittsburgh spend the coming century asking why the town has become so dull. Because Pittsburgh was a city filled with larger than life personalities, wondrous personalities. And Mossy Murphy was definitely one. As Dennis writes, he was volatile, opinionated, troublesome, and ultimately captivating. We will miss him not in spite of his faults, but because of them. They made him interesting in the way a man ought to be interesting, if only to counterbalance a time in which observers of politics strive tiresomely to seem neutral and end up as tasty to the intellect as boiled kidneys. I not only do I like obituaries, I like writing eulogies for my friends. I don't like them dead, but if they do die, I've been known to eulogize them. And Mossy's funeral was huge. I mean, there standing room only, people couldn't get in. There were it was I've never seen the like. I was asked just the afternoon before it by one of his sons to say something. And so I thought, yike. I scrambled to do so. And when I got to the church, I was seated with the other eulogists. And man, I was seated next to the governor and a lot of big political figures, movers and shakers. And I felt slightly out of touch. I was the only woman and the youngest by far. But my time came, and I recall I followed the governor. And I'm going to share it with you now because Mossy Murphy is worth remembering. And because he was such a wondrous character, you'll enjoy the story. I said first, as a complainer by nature and profession, I want to protest the fact that we are even here. I want to state for the record that this is unbearable, unfathomable, that this exuberant, cherubic, generous, fearless, loyal, loving, loud, big-hearted, big mouth, this irrepressible, irreplaceable man could be gone. Unthinkable. There never was anyone like him, and there never will be again. Now, supposedly that could be said of any of us. We are all unique. But few of us have the guts to really do it, to be unique, to be truly who we are. But not Mossy. Mossy was true, and it could get him in trouble. Because this world of ours runs so often on half-truths and flat-out hypocrisy. And Mossy didn't do hypocrisy. Ironically, that made Mossy impolitic. Impolitic. This most political man. And ironic, too, that it was his heart that took him from us. Because it was his heart that gave him to us. It was a heart so big, it embraced us all. In a day when loyalty seems out of fashion, Mossy was steadfastly loyal. He was true. In a day when compassion is out of fashion, Mossy was fiercely compassionate. He didn't just talk a good game, although heaven knows he talked a good game. Mossy lived it. One of the Duquesne Dukes, his alma mater, one of the Duquesne Dukes basketball players is quoted in today. He used to lead cheers at the basketball games. One of the Duke basketball players is quoted in today's paper saying he thought Mossy was a billionaire. I only thought he was a multimillionaire. We were both wrong. Although our mistaken impressions are understandable, you see, because Mossy's compassion, coupled with Mossy's generosity, gave him the appearance of a billionaire, of a Santa Claus on amphetamines, a Santa Claus who didn't care if you'd been naughty or nice. And pity the census taker who showed up at 2771 Beechwood on any given day and asked, "How many people live in this house?" Because chances are on any given day, whoever answered the door, even Carol, Mossy's wife, didn't have a clue. Mossy was forever bringing people home, not just for dinner, not just for a few days, although he often told Carol that's all it's going to be, but for years, for a lifetime. So big was his heart. Mossy. Most knew him as a nattily dressed, long-haired, gap-toothed, outspoken political analyst and operative and Duquesne University cheerleader, but I'll tell you who Mossy really was. He was a husband and father, a grandfather and friend. No woman was ever better or more constantly loved than Carol. No children were ever better or more constantly loved than his. Mossy was above all a husband and a father. And we can only pray it will give Carol and the children and all of us a measure of comfort to know with absolute certainty that Mossy's larger than life spirit will defy death, that he will live in our hearts and be with those he loved until their last breaths and beyond. So big, so large, so true was this man. We will not see his like again. And what I didn't say, because I'm sure it was said by others, is he actually, at one point, he had children, a large family, good old Irish Catholic that he was. And I think it was his neighbors, the people across the street, who the parents died. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact thing. He took in all of their children, took them in. I think there were 4, 5, 6. They moved right into Mossy's house. And he raised them as his own. A remarkable man. Boy, there were people who hated him, though, because he was so huge. He was a crazed Democratic operative. And, well, actually, back to Dennis Roddy, he said, he had a loud mouth and loud ways. He wore his political bias on the outside. The very set of his jaw suggested an imminent fistfight. His hair looked as if it had been tossed to him from across the room and was being worn the way it landed. He ran up an impressive list of bad debts, while on the side slipping cash to families behind on their mortgages or making up the balance of a young man's tuition money. Yeah, that was Mossy. I'm thinking that maybe my caller is here. John, is that you?
It is I. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I think I'm being haunted by the ghost of Alan Bowl.
Alan. Did you know him?
No, but that voice, I mean, I met him a couple times, but that voice and that delivery was unmistakably old school classic broadcaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan Bowl. This, by the way, is John McIntyre, if you're not recognizing this voice of Pittsburgh broadcasting. So, John, I have been asked by my audience to give them a break every once a month and do what they're calling a Throwback Thursday, where we don't talk about what we are going to be talking about with your thing on Saturday, where please, can we talk about anything other than that? And so for this first one, I just decided to talk about, wondrous dead people that aren't with us anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think that's an excellent topic, and I must raise a strong objection. I hate death. I don't like death. I'm uncomfortable with death. Who designed this thing? What is it, God's practical joke?
I was thinking the same thing. I was looking at my dog last night, and he's getting so white. He was black. He had black all around his eyes, and now it's like almost all white. And I said, "Oh, stop it!" I said, "There's no way." I said, "I got a lot longer on this earth than you did, which isn't fair because you are a joyous creature who should have more time than a miserable soul like I." And I was thinking the same thing. This the whole idea of, animals like dogs having such short lives and humans. Ugh. Well, I'm sorry.
Right, and you were saying with somebody you were just talking about died in the early '60s, which is younger than both you and me.
Yes.
Paul McCartney gets to live to 83, but John Lennon dies at 40. It is poor Mickey Dolenz. He's the last monkey.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well,
if you die before me, and I don't know that you will, I don't want to go to Lynn Cullen's funeral. It'll be sad. We'll be crying like, "Where's Lynn?" No, she's gone. I hate
no,
that.
I hope there's got to be a lot. A good funeral is one with a lot of laughter,
Okay.
right? A lot of laughter.
I
You
agree.
laugh at you remember things. I don't know. You know whose obit is in who I like I, the obit today in the New York Times is the jerk who wrote "Hang on, Sloopy."
Oh, I was just Rick Derringer.
Oh, you know Rick Derringer. I hated that
I'm
song.
not personally, but I love that song, and he wrote the great rock anthem, "Rock and Roll Hoochie
Yes,
Coo."
yes, he did. And you know what else about him?
What's
He
that?
he loves he loves you know who I can't talk about today on Throwback Thursdays.
It rhymes with rump.
Yes,
Okay.
and he popped up on Infowars. I mean, he was a real creep.
All right. Well, now you've changed my opinion.
Okay, good. I hang on, Sloopy. Whatever.
You don't like the song though?
I didn't, and I think it was because of the name Sloopy. I found
Yeah.
just the Sloopy sounded so awful to me. I couldn't stand it. Isn't that
You
weird?
know,
I was just reacting. What?
Sloopy comes from a very bad part of town.
I know. I know. And people try to put her down and stuff.
Exactly, and that's what you're doing right now. So I think you're piling on Sloopy Lynn. I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
Yeah, and when she wears a red dress, yeah, right. I remember it. God. Okay, so John McIntyre has came to Pittsburgh after me, but he filled a lot of the same kind of turf. We both became people known for talking, right?
Yeah, but I had to learn how to be a talk show host because I'd only been a local news guy up until then,
You had actually been
and I
an
wasn't
anchor
sure
man,
what.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and I thought, how do you do this? And then I started listening to Lynn Cullen, and I found out you have to have an opinion on everything. You have to know something, or at least pretend to, about everything.
Right.
And I thought, that's impossible. I don't know if I can do that. But that's what Lynn does. And somebody calls up, random topic, boom, here's what I think. I got 10 minutes on that.
Well, but you know
Really?
what that
How
is.
do you
That's
do it?
also, you have to be a bullshitter.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You can say that on the
Yeah,
internet.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But John has hooked me into something that he wants you to know about, where we will both be this Saturday evening. What's this?
Yeah, it's called the World's on Fire Comedy Talk Show. It's a stand-up comedy plus interviews with people who know about politics. And they would be Lynn Cullen, the legendary talk show host, Mike Beon, the former House Minority Whip, who also did some time in the Hooskow
Oh
years
my
ago.
God! Wait, Mike Dion. He's a right. What was he in jail for?
You didn't. He back when everybody a long time ago, as you know, Lynn, all the government people used to make the government people do campaign work on government time, and then suddenly one of the attorneys general, I think it was Tom Corbett, was like, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. So people from both parties were prosecuted. Jane Orey from the Republicans and Jeff Abey, and
Ah,
then
these
Beon
names.
and yeah, from the past, right?
Okay, but
I
so
don't know
they
if they're
they
dead or not.
they all went to jail for using uh, taxpayer-paid people to do their political work.
Right.
So,
And
and
Mike, I'm told, our friend Bill Green, since we're talking about dead people who is dead,
yeah.
admired Mike Dion on one level, and that is that Mike apparently could have kept his pension if he'd ratted other people out, but he didn't do so.
Well, that's pretty cool.
If that, yeah. Also, since he's been to jail, I figure like he's the perfect political analyst for these times because there are certain people who should be in jail.
Right.
At least.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, so okay, so but he's been out for a long time, right?
Yes, many years, and he's got a girlfriend. He just ran her campaign for judge. She won one of the 8 slots, so
Which one was that?
And he's still doing a lot of Heather Bresnahan. I
Oh,
think I
that
have
one.
right.
Okay. The one with the long name. Yeah.
Yes,
That's
that's Heather something else in the middle name, and then Bresnahan. Yeah.
and it wasn't part of her commercials didn't mention and she's Vion's girlfriend. That was not a selling point.
No, but he appeared in one of them.
Oh, he
Just
did.
recently, just saying her name. That was one where everybody just said her name.
Yes.
But and as if they're just building name ID, but they're acting like this is a tough thing to say. Let's see if we can say it. And that was the
Yeah.
for the spot.
Okay, so well, he certainly knows about stuff. So he was how high was his position when he went down?
House Minority Whip. House Minority Whip. So I think that's second to House Majority Leader, who was Bill. I don't know why his name.
Who the hell knows?
Bill
I can't. That's the state legislature is a cesspool.
DeWeese.
I've never.
Bill DeWeese. Sorry.
Oh, Bill DeWeese. Well, didn't he
Was
come
the
to
head
no
guy, and then
good
Mike was the
too?
number 2 guy.
Whoa, jeez.
Yeah, he went to jail.
Have you ever done any time in jail? Because I might be the only one there who hasn't.
Quickly, the third panelist is John Allison, formerly of the Post-Gazette, now of the Tribune Review.
Okay.
But then I'll answer your question. And you can get tickets. It's at the Parkway Theater in McKees Rocks. It's on Broadway in McKees Rocks. And you can get tickets in advance at parkwaytheater.org. Doors open at 7, shows at 8. Yeah, I did. You and I did storytelling the last time we worked together in public.
Yeah.
And you were hysterical. I told the story during one of my storytelling recent things of just spending the night in jail in Tulsa, Oklahoma. DUI, although eventually I went to a halfway house and put bags of trail mix together for 80 hours of community service for junkies so I could get it reduced to reckless driving. Oh my God, yeah. I'd be sitting around with old people smoking cigarettes, junkies, like, hey man, you on TV? Because I was an anchor man there at the time. Like, yeah.
Okay, so I am going to be I don't know because, okay. Yeah. I'm one of the few non-jailbirds that'll be in attendance.
Oh, so you've never been in jail even for an hour or something?
Nope.
How good for you. I mean, I'm not saying that you're one of the normal people, but yeah.
No, but you know what? I actually, at one point in my life, considered that a black mark because, engaging in a lot of protest marches in my youth. But never got arrested. Never did.
Yeah, I was in a holding cell standing there with about a dozen people, and one guy just kept saying, I gotta go to the bathroom, and nobody would do anything. So like, okay, and he just whipped it out and went right there on the floor.
Oh my God.
And I just thought, this is the lowest point in your life, John McIntyre. You probably will never get to a lower moment in your life. Congratulations.
Okay, so if you want to, the world is on fire, and so you'll have, McIntyre and Vion and Allison and Cullen opining about this. It should be a good show. I hope to contribute. And again, it's in McKees Rocks. Is the guy, wait, I just have a question. Is McKees Port and McKees Rocks named after the same McKee?
I must admit I'm not the historian that I should be, and I have no idea. All I know is it's next to Stowe, but I've always been confused about the dividing line.
Oh,
like Stowe Rocks versus McKees Rocks. And the Stowe Rocks people want you to know that they're not in McKees Rocks as if it's a cut above.
Oh,
I have no
yes.
idea.
Oh, the Stowe folks feel superior to the Rocks folks.
Apparently.
Okay.
So I'm led to believe.
But it's a nice little theater, and there's drinks to be had, and
even craft beer, since people seem to be obsessed with that.
Okay, so it's Parkway Theater, McKees Rocks. Show starts at 8.
Yeah, you would. Right, and if you want tickets in advance, and it's a small theater, only seats like 42 people, I think.
Yeah, it's tiny.
So, parkwaytheater.org.
Okay. Does it cost money? I guess so.
It's $20. Come on, everybody's got 20. Well, not everybody has $20, but
I just want everybody to
but
know I ain't getting any of it. Okay? That's all I want people to know.
well, I can buy you a drink.
Well,
Or
maybe
two.
that might.
So I'm sitting here in the Strip District. I had my motor on in a loading zone, and some guy comes up next to me and like, "Are you leaving?" So I just shut off my motor. He apparently is trying to park behind me now.
Oh,
I just want.
so you annoyed him. You're sitting in your car.
Yes, I'm sitting in my car, and because I want the juice to keep running in the iPhone. I had the motor running. So,
Oh,
but whatever.
it's best that you don't, and best that you don't pollute. I will. I will let you. Serious. I'll let you go. I'm gonna
I
let
mean, we're
you.
all going to die. Does it matter? We're all going to die anyway, Lynn.
Yeah, it's just true. Oh, the one other weird thing about John and well, I'm trying to think. Is it John and I, John and me? That I still get a.
And by the way, you're the last person on earth who would care about the distinction. I want you to know that.
It's true too. Anyway, is that he and I ended up in the same place that we weren't born in, and doing the same kind of work, and then we discovered that our mothers had graduated from the same little high school in Galesburg, Illinois.
Yeah, I still think that in a cool way, but I still think that's kind of freaky that we ended up,
I do too. I love it.
yeah.
I just love
Yeah,
it.
and that was such a classic Norman Rockwell, perfect little American
Yeah.
town. Well, probably if you were white, but you know what I mean.
But do you remember it? Did
You
you
know,
ever spend any time in Galesburg?
spent a lot of time there. That's my grandparents lived into their 80s, and we were going to the Galesburg house. And they had nooks and crannies and an attic and a cellar and a back staircase, all sorts of, stuff for kids to get into trouble with. It was fantastic.
Well,
And
I
the little boy
spent.
next door named Tommy Weatherby, right out of Central Casting, the kid next door to play with. Tommy Weatherby's here. John, Tommy Weatherby's here. Oh boy.
Well, I remember sitting on my grandfather's porch in Galesburg, Illinois. He always was listening to baseball games, and he lived on.
Right, mine too.
Really? Oh gosh, it's so
Oh yeah,
bizarre.
big St. Louis Cardinals fan. Yeah.
I don't remember what he was into. Gosh.
Okay.
Anyway, I always found that a strange coincidence. Okie doke. John, I look forward to
Okay.
seeing you on Saturday, and thanks.
ParkwayTheater.org, said the shamelessly plugging guy with the crazy voice.
ParkwayTheater.org. I will do it again before I'm out as well. Okay? And now
Why are you going to be out soon?
what? I mean, no, I'm saying I'm gonna let you give
Oh, I
that.
see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
We'll
let
plug it
you
again.
give
Thank
that
you. God bless
spot
you.
up so that you don't annoy
Okay.
the next person who thinks you're leaving.
Oh no, I'm staying here. It's the only way to get a ticket. I probably shouldn't say this publicly. Is to park in a loading zone.
All right. John, you're something. I look forward to seeing you Saturday.
All right.
Okay.
See you Saturday. Thank you, Lynn.
Okay. Bye.
All right,
Bye. Oh my God. Okay, so McIntyre, I hope you'll come, guys. Um, it might be fun. I think it will be fun. Oh gosh. But just to be forewarned that this, and I said to John, I said, so you mean we're supposed to be funny about what's happening? And uh, that might be hard for me, but we'll figure it out. Is this a caller? I'm all mixed up here. Hello?
Only a fool would try to follow that.
Oh, listen, you're
Yeah,
responsible.
you.
You're responsible
I,
for this.
I feel like a Broadway producer. I got a knot in my stomach fearing that it's going to open and close on the same night.
So how are we doing? How are we doing, you think?
Oh, it's great. Your tribute to Mossy was fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
so many times I remember going to the Civic Arena watching Duquesne basketball games, and I never saw anybody who could excite and ignite a crowd like he did. All he had to do was get up, wave his arms, and that place went nuts.
And that
It
was
was
just
just
his own. I mean, no one appointed him to do that. He just
no,
did it, right?
He was just the unofficial cheerleader, mascot, whatever. It was just amazing. Just
Well,
amazing.
it is tough when somebody who so clearly loves life, devours life, is taken so young. He
Yeah.
was playing golf though. He was playing when his heart gave out. Still.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened to Bing Crosby. He was playing golf in
Mm,
Spain, and Bing Crosby just loved golf with a passion, and
yeah.
he died right there on the golf course.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
Mossy'd rather
Hey,
be alive.
you talk about coincidences. In the future, I got a show for you that's going to scare you to death. I've put a list together. This is true, honest to God. I've got 25 things that you and I have in common.
Oh,
It is so weird when you hear this thing, you're just gonna flip.
you're kidding. Okay.
25. All right, now let's start with a joke. I seldom do jokes. You want a joke?
With some trepidation, I'll say yes.
There we go. An elderly couple are in the doctor's office. They're waiting for the doctor to come in, and the husband is very hard of hearing. So the doctor comes in and he starts talking to the husband. Says, "I've ordered some tests for you, and I'll need some blood, the urine sample, and a stool sample." Well, the husband turns to his wife and asks, "What did he say?" And the wife says, "He wants your underpants."
Oh, jeez. Damn. That's why I
Yeah,
said
right.
was with some trepidation.
And you were right. Did
Yes.
you see or hear the story about the kidnapping monkeys in Panama?
No.
You got to look up that story. It's perfect for you and Susan. Nobody does monkey stories like you two. I remember the bonobos. Remember the bonobos?
Oh, the bonobos. Yeah.
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 This is a story where monkeys have resorted to kidnapping. Believe it
Okay.
or not, there's a small island off of Panama, and for the first time, scientists have seen them kidnapping. It's the capuchin monkeys that are kidnapping babies from the howler monkeys and not giving them back.
Oh
It's
my
a really,
God.
it's a really, really weird story. It's crazy. It's true. It's a true story. Just look it up. You'll find it. And next Tuesday, I expect you and Susan will doing it. Okay. Second thing here. Just like every person in the world, my greatest fear in life is committing a social faux pas. So that leads to this question. If I call a girl or a young lady a tomboy, is that an insult?
I
Now,
don't.
I've gotten conflicting answers for this one so far. And in fact, I've gone back and forth on it a couple of times.
Well, it's probably now in an age when we don't stick boys and girls in very specific categories where they have to behave a certain way and play with certain toys. It does seem like it's an unnecessary word that a girl could want to be more, rambunctious physically. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I was thinking the thing that has changed the meaning of this world over the years is the incredible increase in skill and of women's sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you see women's sports nowadays, in just the last 20 years, the amount of skill, intensity, especially physicality, has really, really changed everything. So I think maybe 60, 70 years ago, that this was a term of innocent endearment, but I think nowadays it probably would be an insult.
Yeah. It's not necessary
Yeah,
anymore. Yeah.
right. Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to leave on this. I was
Wait,
talking
where's
to the
this
Pope last week.
list? Where's the list?
What list?
I thought you said you had a list of 25 things.
Oh no, that's for next time. That's a whole nother show.
Oh, for God's
Um,
sake.
I was talking to the Pope last week. Yeah, right.
Okay.
And I talked to him about Throwback Thursday, and he wanted to take part in it.
Okay.
He said he made a joke. He said no one does throwbacks like the Catholic Church. which is true. They throw back at least 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So the Pope feared that Americans would expect favors from him, that they wanted him to go easy on them and cut him some slack. But the Pope said that he intended to be harder on Catholics in America, and because he expected more from them. So the Pope asked me to reveal and to read for the first time this exclusive on Throwback Thursday.
All right.
The new American 10 Commandments. The rest of the world will still have 10. America now has 20. So here they are, the new American 10 Commandments. 10. Clothe the naked, starting with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Okay.
Number 9. Do not look for the face of God in a burning Tesla. 8. Pay homage to every Amazon delivery truck you see. 7. When making a donation to the church, do not ask for fuel perks. 6. Save your prayers. The Democratic Party is not rising from the dead. 5. When talking to Senator Chuck Grassley, do not use his Christian name Methuselah. 4. Observe the holiest day of the year, Taylor Swift's next album release. 3. Do not humiliate anyone still using last year's model iPhone. 2. You may now covet anyone you wish with the exception of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And the number 1 new American commandment, God damn it, stop swearing.
All right.
So there you are.
Well,
all right. Next time around, I will do the
25.
25 things
That's
that we have in common.
Jesus.
That is
sorry. Stop swearing.
Weird.
Okay, you.
Weird.
Rich from the North Hills, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Happy throwback.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So guys, I didn't see this. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at chat when John was on, and I'm sorry, Jonathan, because you said ask John to tell the story of him and Uncle Dougie on TV being so bored by a caller that they got on the floor. Why was getting on the floor gonna help? You mean they just wanted to like go to sleep or something? Oh God.
Hi, this is John. I'm not available to come to the phone right now. Please leave a message.
I accidentally
At the
called
tone,
it back.
please record your message. When you're
John.
finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, John, it's Cullen. I'm on the air, but I accidentally pushed the wrong button and called your phone. So I'll see you Saturday, okay? Bye. I think that's it. Oh, this is classic. So you know what I did? I screwed up the phones. No more phone calls because I knocked myself off thinking I was knocking him off. Don't even ask. I am beyond help. The good news is obviously we figured out how to get the phones back, so that's good. Well, I must say that I have enjoyed doing this hour as well. I'm not getting to some of the bits I intended to, but there's one other wonderful story. I can't do the kidnapping Capuchin monkeys because I don't know that one, but I did read a story that's mind-blowing about about let me find it, the kind of a hawk, a Cooper's hawk, okay? And it turns out that birds, we're always so wrong about what we term things. We call bird brain means stupid. When I got news for you, some birds crows are known to be they're smarter than a 2-year-old or something. Bird brain is bull. Just like you use the word pansy for somebody who's not, who's weak or something. When anyone who knows flowers knows that pansies are strong as hell. You can plant them when it still freezes and they pop right back up. They shake off a frost, who gives a damn, and still look as beautiful as imaginable. So I don't know what it is with how we humans create words, but boy, so effing wrong. So anyway, the Cooper's hawk, I'm talking only about one. And they say it's a very young Cooper's hawk who has been seen doing something. And it's what the hawk is doing that has blown the minds of a number of people, because it appears to show that he's thinking. He's thinking. I didn't do that. Okay, whatever. So here's what this happens.
You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message.
Ah!
If you're satisfied with the message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record, press 3.
Oh, dope. So you mean all of that is on his phone?
If you're satisfied with the message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To
I'm
erase
not.
and re-record, press
Shut
3.
up. Is she going to keep saying that? She is, isn't she?
If you're satisfied with this
Son of a
message,
bitch.
press
What
1.
do I do?
To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record, press 3.
Well, I don't know how to turn her off. We're fucked.
Sorry you're having trouble. Your message has been sent. Please try again later. Goodbye.
Bye. Damn. All right, let's see if we still have time for this. So, the Cooper's hawk, and this is in Orange, somewhere in New Jersey, West Orange, New Jersey. This Cooper hawk has been observed using the crosswalk signal at a certain intersection in West Orange, New Jersey. The one that makes traffic stop because pedestrians will cross. And this hawk has obviously created a strategy, because he knows once the traffic signal starts, and he knows it because it beeps. It does that, beep, beep for I guess, I was going to say for deaf people, for blind people, so they know they can cross. And so whenever he waits in the trees for somebody to push the button that activates the beep and stops cars, and he does this during rush hour, so there's lots of cars that end up being stopped, and it creates a jam of maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 cars. And once the cars have assembled, he swoops down from his perch, flies low to the ground along the line of stopped cars, giving him cover, and then he veers into this person's yard. A person who invariably has put out bird feed. And he, the Cooper's hawk, pounces on the poor little birds who have gathered to eat the seed. So people who have seen this have said, this is mind-blowing. This hawk has clearly observed that the beeping sound results in a wall of cars. The wall of cars shields him, allows him to make a sneak attack on these birds that are there invariably. and he's able to snatch his lunch. So he's using the crosswalk signal and the resulting backup of cars to ambush his prey. And that is mind-blowing. 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 Bird brain indeed. I couldn't have come up with that. So, there you go. That is our first Throwback Thursday, and I must say myself, man, I enjoyed it. So thank you, Rich, in the North Hills. And maybe I'll see you guys on Saturday at the Parkway Theater. It starts at 8. You could get there earlier, have a few drinks, and then you might think we're funnier than we are. Might not be a bad idea. Parkwaytheater.com. Get your tickets in advance if you want. Okay? So thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. And see you Monday or Saturday night.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.